So things are locked up at 1-1 here in the losers round 4. So the loser of this game goes home from the tournament in 4th place. And man, that foliage underneath the tree looks really cool. And the winner will go through to play the 3rd place final, and the winner of that will go through to the grand final of this tournament. So we've got Choom here on Marlians in the blue, up against Tattoo on Chinese in the red, and we're on Rocky Canyon this time. It's a little bit similar to Dry River in the sense that there are these ponds in the center of the map, but the map is ultimately different to that because it's a bit more of a valley. It's all dried out. There's no real access to fishing here. There's low ground resources to fight for regardless. There is actually slightly more landmass here in the center of the map because of that as well. The ponds a little bit smaller, so you've got more room to actually play with. And in macro games, I can imagine you just end up with all this sort of walled off and a big, basically demilitarized zone here between our players. So Choom going all the way up to 6 houses around that pit mine to boost the gold income a little bit more. But he's going to want to bring his villager back to actually get back to work. But his gold eco will be very healthy. He'll be able to focus purely on food as well as have this one just chop some wood. We can start his wood eco. Get moving as soon as he gets to age 2, get a couple of stables probably. Seems to be very common for Marley, particularly on a map like this, to go for 2 stables openings and just harass with warrior scouts before taking into Farimba Garrison for age 3. Can quite quickly and just playing on from there around the amazing light armor compositions that Marlian has. While Chinese will probably see Tattoo try and play around Song Dynasty at least. I don't know if he's going to opt to go for 2 town center Song because it really delays your castle age. But Song Dynasty at least cuts 5 seconds off that villager train time. Gives you a great villager production cycle. So Mansa Quarry also going to contribute to this early game gold eco here for Marlian. So they've a very easy time taking fast and semi-fast castle ages because they can even opt to just keep gathering at that pit mine with their mining camp also contributing to the extra gather rate of the pit mine structure. So the gold vein will be mined out even faster because then you can even add villages there to gather on. The beauty is once the gold mine is exhausted for villager gathering, at least you can keep sucking gold up out of the ground there. And it's basically like having a relic once you've got that fully covered, because you can still fit another house. And oh, can you fit 2 houses there as well as the mining camp? And then that's ultimately going to be 8 or 9 structures. Tattoo gonna try and take his Barbican here, but looks as though Choom is going to try and lame the deer as much as possible, space them out and make this not so cost effective to mill up at. So Tattoo's just going to try and kill the deer as quickly as possible. They're still really spread out, so this is going to be a big pain in the ass. You can see this other deer is slowly making its way back in. So Choom being real arsehole to Tattoo in the sense that he's ruining his ability to gather these resources. But whatever it takes to win, right? Tattoo just going to try and finish off the Barbican. A little bit quicker there. He now has the gold and the food also to get Imperial Academy here. So he's basically going to be able to get to Song Dynasty. While Choom's going to try harassing with Warrior Scouts now. He's taken that upgrade on his Scouts, so that'll be another reason why Tattoo would have opted to go for that slightly quicker Barbican. Now, he's got a little bit of idle time there from those villagers. With some good unit control here from Choom, he can really thin out some of the health on the villagers here. Players always try and prevent themselves from being able to get textiles, I think, because it's just going to hold up your villager production by 1 and also cost you 3 times as much resources as a villager. So Tattoo's going to go for really quick barracks production here, while also still going to add a mill now. But as you can see, it's a pretty long walk thanks to Choom. Tattoo didn't actually have the chance to try and stack all these up around something, or I mean, he possibly could have brought a scout here and just boxed them in around the space that he would then put a mill at. And Choom punishing him for this strategy so far. The warrior scout going to be able to outrun the spears here, and it looks as though Choom is going to steal the other hunt here. So this is quite common to see Marlians players doing at the moment, is you just kill your opponent's hunt and steal it. I mean, he wasn't able to do it on this first one because Tattoo has ultimately gone for the Barbican here. And so in order to get both survival techniques, warrior scouts and multiple scouts, you've got to have it start at the time that the Barbican goes up, but it still means that these warrior scouts are going to be able to pull these hunts even further away. Even if it doesn't make it all the way home, it still screws it up for your opponent's gathering. Have they fixed it? So, oh no, they haven't fixed it. So the boar icon also ruined on the map for Tattoo, Choom, bug abusing. And these scouts, while they're carrying, they actually are slower than regular scouts. They potentially can be caught via the spears and picked off. So Choom going to bring back as many of these deer as possible. Was going to place something there next to his town centre, but opted against it. Maybe a house. And rather than worrying about taking the berries, just going to add survival techniques and gather from these deer. I don't believe survival techniques benefits herdable sheep. I believe they're actually run off horticulture. There are some more sheep here, I mean deer there for Choom to go for, but he's just going to try and attempt to steal some of Tattoo's. Well, Tattoo, this has been quite a rough old time on this hunt. And the score's starting to reflect it now. On top of that, Tattoo's forgotten to stop empowering over here and just have this guy either running around collecting tax gold, because by now he's got quite a reasonable amount across his structures, or empower the wood gathering actually, because he could possibly make use of that, even the gold gathering, in order to take his food and wood upgrades here. So he's going to go for town center. Yeah, he could have been empowering the mining camp and improving both his stone and gold gather rate there, which could have been really big. So a slight misplay economically, and with the macro by Tattoo. Oh, Choom is just shitting out archers now. He's also going to be able to afford a handful of sofa. So that's really going to mean Tattoo's going to have to emphasize spearman production until he gets to Castle Age. And the warrior scout's not going to be able to pinch any more of this hunt, but there's already been a little bit of damage done. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So, oh no, it wasn't this one, it was the other one. So that hunt actually not so poorly off compared to this first one, where there was 3 of the deer stolen. So Choom's not going to get the opportunity to really steal them over here. Again, I don't think. At the same time, he can use a single scout to bring back the other deer later on. He's also camping that boar, so eventually Tattoo's going to need to make another mill over here to gather from the berries, because he's actually just put it right next to where he was going to take that tree in order to reduce walk time. But ultimately he's going to want to commit to a big farm eco later on, so even though it's sort of not the most optimal mid-term play, short-term and long-term it's sort of fine to have that mill offset there. But yeah, the long-term decision would probably be just to have the mill over here and then just take as many granaries as possible in the area, because he is in Song Dynasty as well, so he does have access to granaries, which do boost the gather rate of villages nearby by 10% for every granary in the vicinity. So if you've got mills there instead, obviously that's taking up space for either farms or granaries. But in the midterm, it's a reasonable decision in the fact that he is just going to commit to farms anyway there. So Joutes made himself pretty safe against any raiding here. He can possibly even go for that stone if he needs to go for a second town centre, which I suppose you probably don't really on Malians, or go for a keep later on. We're starting to add some military upgrades here. Well, we haven't yet got any blacksmith technologies here for Tattoo, who's going to try and go for this other berries down here. But it's a little risky considering Choom's looking to come and raid. Does actually miss these villages, but he's going to force a big pullback off the berries there. So Tattoo does have some spears in here now, and the Zhugnu also going to be quite solid against the Sofa here. Going to be stronger than a regular archer. These other Sofa are actually just stuck having a dance. So this is not ideal for Choom, because he could have ultimately picked off the spears a little bit quicker here. But while this is going on, Choom has actually picked off a lot of the army and been trying to go for a ram push. But it looks like Tattoo's ultimately going to be able to repair through this, although he's only got minimal numbers of Zhugnu, and there is no spears here in support against the Sofa. But there are more coming across now, and I think Tattoo got a bit lucky over there that Choom's Sofa had bugged out, so he pretty much lost those 4 Sofa for much less than he really should have. But even still, Choom had just enough to be able to take out the town centre here. So things are looking good for Choom at the moment, as our players will be looking to get to Castle Age soon. That second pit mine being started, but it's not actually been finished there by Choom. He could send a single villager to finish all that up. Really reap the extra gold trickle that that offers. I think that'd be more worth than the, you know, the 20 seconds of build time that that's going to cost. Choom trying to take out one of these villages. So this is going to be a nice drop-off, I mean, not drop-off, a nice garrison point for a couple of villages. Should Tattoo decide to go for this stone later on to replace the town centre, or maybe get a keep. Because ultimately this stone over here is not going to last forever. So a little idler there. It's eating up a bit of gathering time. So Choom now actually going to be repelled here by Tattoo. He's actually going to be able to save the village. You can even look at garrisoning the low villages here, should they get picked off. So he'll do exactly that. So we're just seeing Choom finish off a wall up around this wood line now that it's being finished off, because that's sort of becoming a bit redundant if there's gaps over here. Oh, it looks like Choom is going to try and steal as many of these deer as possible over here. Stop Tattoo from just throwing up another mill. He's probably not going to opt for a town centre, but probably opt for a mill still if there is 4 deer there left to finish off. But not if there's only 1 or 2. Now that Choom is continuing to steal deer. He actually could just have a single warrior scout or both of those guys clean up the ones that are still here back at home. He's already had to start investing in cattle here, which costs him a little bit of his extra gold production that he reaps, because he's obviously got nearly 3 relics worth of gold income there. About 2.5 really. And a nice raid attempt by Choom. He's not looking to get a huge amount out of this one. He's just scouting, and on top of that, well, he's going to deny a little bit of gather time there and keep the army busy, because while this is going on, Choom is also raiding down over here and try and pick off 1 or 2 of these villagers and deny a lot more gathering time. Now the army is in tow. So he has lost a sofa for a villager here, but he has denied a lot of gather time here, and these ones are quite low. Horsemen trying to sneak into Choom's base there, courtesy of Tattoo, or a pair of them actually. But they're not made a lot of ground. It doesn't really give a lot of information away about the base either, and what Choom's opting to tech to. So Choom's actually gone for double cattle ranch there, so it'll be some nice passive food income. Doesn't have to worry so much about relying on villagers having to gather cattle and having to constantly replace cattle, which is also important. Because, I mean, ideally he's going to want to constantly have 1 or 2 over here and have as many that he can produce, up to the 20. Just out here in cattle ranches behind his town center, it's like one big cattle station. And it's a lot of food. I think is it 28 food per cattle? Yeah, 28 food per cattle per minute. So, what's that, 56? 84. So, it's pretty nice. It's almost like having a relic, but gathering food rather than gold with that. So, effectively, you know, you're going to actually pay back all these cattle every 3 minutes. And I mean, you already get that nice gold trickle. It just delays having to switch to a farm eco quite significantly. But at the same time, Tattoo has really safely walled all this up back here now, and has a big granary economy. Ultimately having to sacrifice an extra 50 wood there on those mills. But it doesn't seem to really have impacted him all that much. He's actually up on score over Choom. No doubt being able to produce villagers faster. Even though he's only on 1 town centre now. He was only on 2 quite briefly there, but his villager production time will be 5 seconds faster than Choom's, who's also having to try and commit to Farimba Garrison now. You can get some really nice upgrades here, as well as make use of Farimba Garrison and just produce units all out of gold. You're probably going to want to stop gathering too much out of here and having to commit too much into the cattle now, because his units are going to compete a lot more for gold, rather than producing all these food wood units that they normally are. The sofa and the javelin throwers, really the only gold units that he's had access to at all so far. So it's been a bit of a macro heavy game here. Not all that aggressive, a bit of a passive one, and Tattoo's actually just playing it safe, playing quite turtly here, even though he's on just the one. Well, he has gone for the 2nd town centre now, so he's really going to start pulling ahead of Choom on economic population here. But Choom has dealt quite a bit of early damage, I think, with taking out that town centre. Some nice raids, a lot of villager gather time's been lost here for Tattoo. It's a nice push for Tomb because he's hitting just before this tower's about to finish up. So he's going to deny it going up. It's not going to be able to contribute at all in the fight. Those villagers can't just garrison in there and be a nice archer while the fight goes on. Archers also having veteran upgrade, while the Jougnu and Spears only in their age 2 forms. Tattoo's trying to raid in the meanwhile and damage that pit mine, gather raid as much as possible, but at the same time, there is a bunch of warrior scouts here. Also, the numbers at the moment are really favouring Tomb. Tattoo trying to pick off some of these gatherers because they're no longer at work around that first pit mine. They should be shifted over to the second or fanned out across the other resources at the moment. And probably on the gold mine considering Tomb is going for Farimba garrison production. He already has quite a bit of a food bank there. And so if he's wanting to start making siege and make Farimba units for the most part, he's probably going to want mostly a gold income there. Although in saying that, he does have quite a number of buildings to produce out of that aren't just the garrison. He'll be using those as well, but it's been a nice push here for Tomb. He's denying a lot of food gathering there. Tattoo now trailing on score by quite a bit. But the bulk of the eco has survived so far. I don't know if Tomb's got enough to take out the town centre with these guys alone, considering it's going to be harder and harder for him to attack these side TCs that Tattoo's been going for. And now Tattoo's in Castle Age, so he's got access to the crossbows and to the palace guards. So these veteran archers are going to be quite as good as the traditional crossbows. Neither will the javelin throwers, because neither of them are actually a specialist anti-armor unit. Even though the archers are an anti-infantry, they're an anti-light infantry. Whatever reason it's not showing me the attack stats, I think that's because we've now got poison arrows here for Tomb, so that does help offset the fact that he doesn't have the crossbow unit technologies. He's still got poisoned arrow, and so his archers are an improved archer over the regular one, a bit like the longbowman, but rather than having a range bonus, they've got a damage over time bonus. Tomb trying to seize a bit of map control, while Tattoo figuring his opponent's going to look to transition to a market economy because this really benefits Malians. So Malians having access to that toll outpost, improved tower, so that means that they get, I think it's 8% or 10% of all gold that the caravans are carrying deposited immediately. And it's not like the caravans have to carry any less because of that. They still make it to their destination with the full amount. They just gather an extra 8% at every toll outpost in the way. Thank you for the follow, I'm assuming. Sorry, I don't want to alt tab just because I want to keep an eye on this fight. So Tomb able to take out this town centre by the look of it. As long as he can snipe another couple more villagers off Tattoo here. But there are only warrior scouts for most of this cavalry, so Tattoo actually able to repair through this. The warrior scout, the palace guard can be too tanky for the veteran archers to chew through like they were spearmen. The Jougnu are also going to be a nice unit against the archers there. And thank you, what was that? Another follower. Thank you. Cheers, guys. So Tomb pushing onto Tattoo's base. And I mean, we've still got another 13 minutes on the recording, so he's going to be able to spring back from this, even though he's down by a K score. So a lot of his ecos had to idle here, but I do think his eco has actually been a little bit larger through all these fights. So even though he's losing it, and even though he's having to garrison a lot, he has also saved this town center. That's a bit of a pain for Choom, who can't really get back on top of it because it's all walled off once again. So is Choom overcommitting, overstaying his welcome on some of these fights, because he is ultimately having a lot of his army get cleaned up. And he is running some more Safer in to keep the pressure up, but looks like Tattoo has managed to stabilize here. He's gathering on the granary again. That third town center, really. The second one has already been picked off. The third town center survives. The villagers just headed back to go and gather the wood instead. He's probably going to want to go for another granary. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to want to get it. Maybe over here. Choom once again forcing Tattoo off the granary. Still making Safer and archers at the moment. Tattoo, a little food starved at the moment, only really with villagers in production at the moment. He's going to continue to lose a couple of villagers here, but the mix of spears, palace guards and Jugnu should be a nice composition for this. He even had crossbows, but this ranged a little slow to get in here and try and clean up the sofa, which is pretty much the only heavy unit that Choom's been fielding it all here. Perhaps a bit sloppy with this little rally in here. Looks like that sofa did manage to pick off a villager, but a sofa is a lot more expensive than a villager. Bearing in mind, Tattoo is still up by 1 town center over his opponent, but we also have trading now coming in for Choom. So his eco is looking really healthy. He hasn't really dealt with any serious pressure on his base. I mean, I think he lost 1 house there on the pit mine, and he's been raided once or twice over here, but Choom's really seemingly had most of the momentum, particularly in the middle of the game here. Tattoo committing to walls once again, while Choom going for a quite aggressive wall layout. He's going to be able to try and go for Sacred Site possession by the look of it, because he's just going to go for a full map wall off. He's even going for cross-map relic grabs here. Bit of a snatch and grab with all this cavalry over here to support that Imam, so he should be nice and safe. Thank you for the follow. So Choom, he's going to try and wall this off, and even though he's been on 1 town center all game, I believe, yeah, he's still on 1 town center. He's not really had to worry about anywhere near the amount of raiding pressure that Tattoo has, so even with Song Dynasty and the 2 town center advantage, I don't think losing a couple of villages here is going to be of significant harm to Choom. Just bearing in mind, it does mean that these crossbows and whatnot were busy attacking them instead of this archer ball. The Tattoo, now that the military, the infantry are coming in to clean this up, I think he should have more than enough there. Now Choom's going to probably want to just set back to rally over here, though he does have this big cavalry advantage. He is bringing the Imam here, so he's possibly going to want to try and pull off a sneaky conversion, or even have this as a bit of a bait. He's going to go for a convert and gets a pair of Palace Guard for his troubles. And now he's going to bring back the Imam. So I think ultimately that conversion attempt did get him a little bit of value there, but bearing in mind he was taking damage on his Sofa and Warrior Scouts there to be able to pull that off. It wasn't like he converted this many units at once. He literally only got a pair of Palace Guards there. Yeah, it was a pair. So I thought there was another one running around. Must have died. So Tattoo's actually got a little force over here ready to interrupt this market economy. It's the perfect time because Choom looking at walling it all in. Looks like Joom still slowly widening that score gap, and there is a little bit of idle time here in Tattoo's eco. He's struggling to get and maintain a spot where he's over 100 population overall here, which means that his worker pop's really going to start to take a bit of a hit here. Well, Joom is up to that 90 eco pop, 66 and 17 for Tattoo, so Tattoo is behind, but in saying that, this market hasn't been fully set up and established with static defense around it. A lot of toll outposts going up there to defend it, but we've already lost a lot of the caravans, so Joom will possibly want to remake those soon. For the time being, he's just worried about cleaning this all up to begin with, but he's going to be able to do so, and he has got control of the sacred sites. He's got a lot of this wall up finished, and with all this raiding pressure he's been putting on Tattoo, it's going to take a minute or two for Tattoo to come marching out of the gates to try and do something about this. So Joom adding a keep on the central-most sacred site there. He still has a nice fighting force back at home, so he's 93 and 52. Tattoo is 55 and 22. So Tattoo down on both the worker size and the army size at the moment. It's also got more conservatively placed walls and doesn't have any forward keeps or towers or anything of that nature. Joom even pinching that relic now. The spears nicely timed here for Tattoo, though Joom is just having him chase him all up the wall off here. It is only going to take a click on this these unfinished ones. Tattoo having cut a hole through this anyway. But he's still going to want to send something to clean up that villager. He's going to try and take the sacred site back. Neutralize it at least, because at the moment Joom has that win condition. If he can clear this out, he can and hold on to this for 8 minutes or so. He takes the game. So Tattoo going to do everything in his power to prevent that. Joom, healthy eco and 83 military at the moment. Even looking to go for another forward keep versus 70 eco and 50 military. It's definitely a rough spot for Tattoo to be in, although he will recover from the villager deficit. But in saying that, considering he's only got a fairly limited amount of gold in this base of his, he is eventually going to have to transition to a similar sort of market setup that Joom's got here. He's been able to remake a lot of these caravans. Jugnu going to be a worthy adversary of the improved veteran archers that the Malians have. But not when they're outnumbered so heavily. So we're reaching the stage where Joom can't really add any more units, and he is going to start to accrue a bit of a bank and just look at trying gathering as much stone as possible so he can keep and then possibly even double keep all of these landmarks here. Really keep Tattoo on the back foot here at the moment, because he's rapidly rising to double Tattoo's score at the moment. He's cutting it a lot finer in terms of his eco at the moment. Joom starting again to accumulate that bank. A lot of the eco is actually idle at the moment. About a third of it almost. On Tattoo, everyone's hard at work, so it's 70 out of 72 active villagers versus 66 out of 98 active villagers. So Tattoo's actually going to be gathering more through this, but Joom, all he has to do is get these bastards back to work. Come on, guys. I know the union said you could have the afternoon off, but I didn't, so get to it, yo. So, some more of the villagers here being taken out by Joom, and Tattoo's also forced to have to try and wall up this gold vein once again. Joom actually getting that worker eco rolling once again. And only 6 idlers now, so it's much more healthy. He is maxed out, so he's just adding this one last round, and this is it. He's looking to go for a big push on multiple fronts here. So Tattoo looking to defend the gold mine because it is still got about half the gold left on it. He needs to get all of these guys into the fray here, because if he's fighting with half of his composition all the time, it's going to be rough for his units to actually take the fights. But he's under an immense amount of pressure here from Joum, who's obviously got tricks up his sleeve on this top side of the map and is starting to chip away at over here. But in saying that, that one outpost is going to be able to take out quite a number of these archers on its own. So for now, Tattoo's holding off, and he has also got most of these soldiers back to work here, but he probably could bring another villager or two to repair the gate, and even look at throw down a tower here at the moment if he can afford it. But wow, right now Joum's got everyone on food. He's got his trader eco, not even worried about wood gathering all that much at the moment. Tattoo, much more even eco spread, but the clock is ticking here. Joum actually going to go to Imperial Age. And once again, all three sacred sites under possession. Looks very, very healthy there. Very imposing with his triple keep layout across that map. The Barbican falling now. And this would be where Tattoo's looking to switch up his gold eco to, because he's under 1,000 gold now on that vein. So if he can't get control of this one, knowing that he hasn't got full map control to either corner of the map from here in order to make full use of this trade post, he's going to be shit out of luck very soon. So Joum even punching another hole in this wall off here. Going to keep chipping away at the Barbican, while he'll be looking to move in with the full brunt of his army soon. So everything's just going to come marching through, possibly on top of the granaries, but also maybe even coming back over here, just knowing how gold limited Tattoo's going to be now, as he's fast running out over here. So Joum's going to try and hit a little off center of all these towers, but if he does so, he gives himself access to both raiding this with a couple of cav and really putting pressure on this gold vein. So Tattoo's trying to split up his army best he can to get on top of that Mangonel quickly with his Palace Guard. He will be able to clean it up, but not before it does land a shot there. And is there enough in the backline here for Joum to hold off this push? I mean, from Tattoo to hold off this push from Joum, and I don't think there is. So Sofa being split off once that gate's fallen here, and this is going to really hurt Tattoo's eco, so he's going to fall under 100 population very soon here. Well, Joum, it's not a struggle for him to keep just about maxed out through this, and it looks as though Joum is going to go through to the next round, and Tattoo bows out in 4th place in the tournament.